So why do you think Australia can achieve its net zero target by 2050 on renewables only without nuclear?
Nuclear is just simply not in the mix. So it's we know we can achieve the renewable future. We're well and truly on the road. We are the most renewable rich continent on this planet. We have enough sun, wind and water resources in terms of pumped hydro, in terms of wind, in terms of solar. And let's just look at the facts and the money. Nuclear is unbelievably expensive. We're not looking at that kind of investment, but let's look at where we are now. Rooftop solar alone, rooftop solar, this is Australians, not with government support. As rooftop solar is about to exceed coal and gas in terms of the supply into Australia's electricity supply. So the idea of nuclear right now is an absolute political furphy of the coalition government. This is not in Australia's interest, and it's certainly not in the interest of cheap electricity for everyday Australians.
Ted, does Sue have a point here? The cost of renewables versus the cost of nuclear. It's far more expensive for nuclear in this country than it is for renewables. How do you make that cost stack up?
Well, I mean, it's like comparing buying a bike versus buying a semi-trailer. They do very different jobs in the system. If we learn from Canada, if we learn from the United States, from the UK, from Japan, from most of our peer countries around the world, once they have nuclear in the mix, power prices come down. From a public policy perspective,
it's too late for
our
nuclear.
job is to get power prices down.
Ted is currently referring to countries who had nuclear on 30 to 40 to 50 years ago. It's not in the economic, environmental or social interest of this country
I'm not.
to start
so let me explain.
And if we talk about
what I am
small
referring
nuclear
to, so let me
modular
correct you on what I
reactors.
am referring to. I'm referring to some countries that have indeed had nuclear for some time and they understand the economics of it, why it brings prices down. They are the same nations that are investing further. These nations want to triple the amount of nuclear energy globally until 2050. Then you have
already have
50
the investment.
other countries that for the very first time are introducing zero emissions nuclear energy because it tackles that trilemma. It keeps prices down, it keeps the grid reliable, and it provides for decarbonisation.
Politics. It's yesterday's politics, it's yesterday's power, and it's yesterday's economy, and it's not.
Well, actually, it's next
future.
Generation nuclear technology we're talking about.
Australians
it's about tomorrow's technology.
And cheap power.
Some energy
Nuclear
experts say that nuclear is 25 years away, that the life of coal-fired power plants would need to be extended by up to 25 years if they are to be replaced by nuclear reactors. How would you justify that?
Well, other nuclear experts say that nuclear is 5 years away in Australia, and I don't believe that either.
On the other side,
it's within a decade you could get nuclear in Australia.
On the other side of the argument, to reach net zero emissions by 2050 and shut off all coal-fired power, Australia will need to build the equivalent of 50 snowy hydro schemes. That's according to the Australian Energy Board. So we are way behind on both energy sources no matter what.
In terms of the storage and the system, we have the capacity. We are investing now, and absolutely we will need to go gangbusters in bringing this renewable future on.
So
and
investment is down.
We're doing it already.
Investment is down 40%.
And let's remember,
investment in renewables are down 40% since Labor came to office. 40%. You were going to close down a system without a replacement.
The coalition abandoned this space and took us backwards for 10 years. We've been 2 years now on catch-up, and we are going gangbusters. It's looking bright.
So you say 2 years, 2 years
good.
catch-up, investment is down 40%, workforce is down, emissions are going up in Australia. Emissions are going up in Australia for the very first time.
We need to do much better. You're right. Labor needs to do much better.
So electricity prices, we are now paying among the highest prices in the world.
So
the grid is falling over.
So the concern moving forward is we are racing to shut down the coal-fired power plants, power stations. But what do we do in the interim? while we're waiting for that 2050 target to kick in. Have we got the infrastructure in place?
We are absolutely building that infrastructure
for
right now.
For no blackouts.
No blackouts. Let's remember the reason we're getting blackouts is because of the ageing coal-fired facilities. And don't forget, it's not the government shutting these facilities down. It's the industry themselves, and that's because the money and the future and the capacity is in renewables.
The lights are going to go out.
I want to go to the jury, get their views on it.
Your lights are going to go
Chris,
out.
how are you feeling about the possibility of Australia going nuclear?
Well, there's a number of points. You've got, for instance, Rolls-Royce is building modular nuclear reactors. He's exactly right where the industry is moving on a lot quicker. The Greens, I don't see, where are you objecting to when we're tearing down native forests, we're ruining the skylines, we're ruining the environment, all in the sake of saving the environment. China's building 2 new coal-fired reactors a week. Doesn't matter, we shut down 1 or 2. What's the difference? We're going to make no difference.
In terms of China, we need to be very careful about how we look at what China's doing. Have you looked at their investment and their renewable investment and their capacity? They are building
So are you seriously defending China on climate change over Australia?
No, Ted. I am talking about what China is doing on renewables. You have a good look. They are investing in billions and they are bringing on renewables. You know why? Because China knows that's where the future is and that's where the the free energy is coming from, people. This is how we will bring the
I'm with
prices
Australia,
of
not
power
with
down.
China on this one.
Oh, Ted, your culture wars and your politics, they won't survive you. They won't do you well.
Well, look, unfortunately, we've actually run out of time and you've both had your say. A great debate. But let's go to the jury now. You have 10 seconds to deliberate. Should Australia go nuclear? Time is up. What is the jury's verdict? Every one of you said yes, Australia should go nuclear. Hugo, why yes?
Look, I think if we are using this technology in other areas of our economy and if our peers are using this technology, why wouldn't we include this in the mix if it's a zero emission source of energy that's going to give Labor and the Greens what they're looking for in terms of not producing emissions and giving us cheap, reliable power? Why wouldn't we include that as part of the mix? We don't have to make it the solution, but why not make it part of the mix?
Part of a mix. Bruce, your thoughts?
I think we're a nation of fools and we're signing a national suicide note if we don't go nuclear.
Why?
Because I think anybody who believes that covering our environment and spoiling it in order to save it with propellers and panels is a special kind of zealot.
There you go. Strong words there from Bruce. Look, it's an interesting debate, and given that the coalition's going to take this to the next election, you can be sure it's going to be front and centre on the agenda. Ted O'Brien, Sue Higginson, great to have you both on the show tonight.
Thanks,
Thank you
Danica.
so much
Thank you,
for
Sue.
joining us.
Thank you all.